Welcome to Japanese Made Easy, where we use advanced techniques like pattern recognition and contextual learning so you can quickly and easily start speaking Japanese.
Hi, Greg here. Welcome to episode 21. Remember that all episodes are cumulative, so please start with episode 1. Along with picking up more need-to-know Japanese, I'll be showing you a cool technique for acquiring new vocabulary. First, let's review the counters we've learned so far. Talking about pet cats, your friend says,
一匹飼ってるよ。
How would you translate that? Literally, one combined with the counter for small animals, then the verb used for having pets. More naturally, I have one. Still on the topic of pet cats, tell a friend I have two.
2匹飼ってるよ。
And again, three.
3匹飼ってるよ。
A person asks how many ice cubes you want in your Jack Daniel cola. Tell them one.
1個、
Tell them two.
2個、
And three.
3個、
When talking about prices, we heard
100円。
or 100 yen. Given that, a person's grandmother is how many years old?
100歳。
100 and the counter we use for age or years old. How would you say 90 years old?
90歳。
And 80 years old?
80歳。
You come into work on Wednesday morning with messy hair and bloodshot eyes. Speaking of the party last night, tell your boss in polite Japanese, there were 100 people. More literally, 100 people existed.
100人いました。
All right, let's get a new verb.
切る。切る。
As usual, from context first. Can you help me make this salad? While I wash the lettuce, you use the knife to
切る、
these carrots into small slices. The meaning isn't crystal clear yet, so let's do another one. Watch out for that broken glass. If you pick it up, use gloves so you don't
切る、
your finger. So the core meaning of this is cut, but the reason we want to know it early on is it's used more widely in Japanese than it is in English. So first, let's get used to the idea of cutting something, as we might say in English, then we'll expand on it. First, just listen to this dialogue, see if you can get the gist. Two family members are in the kitchen preparing various food. One asks the other,
トマト切った？
うん、4個切ったよ。
ピザ切った？
うん、切ったよ。
Let's break that down line by line.
トマト切った？
Tomatoes, cut? Did you cut the tomatoes? We dropped the o particle there since it's very casual. Then,
うん、4個切ったよ。
yeah, I cut 4. As usual, no particle needed since it's obvious who is talking to who. Then we heard
ピザ切った？
pizza cut. In English, we would say slice, but in Japanese,
切る、
pretty much covers all these ideas, cutting, slicing, chopping, etc. Then the last line,
うん、切ったよ。
yeah, I sliced it. The whole thing one more time.
トマト切った？
うん、4個切ったよ。
ピザ切った？
うん、切ったよ。
Ask a family member, did you cut the tomatoes?
トマト切った？
Did you cut the cake?
ケーキ切った？
Did you cut the cheese?
チーズ切った？
And polite, just listen. I cut the sandwiches.
サンドイッチを切りました。
Making that into a question, did you cut the sandwiches?
サンドイッチを切りましたか？
Yes, I cut them.
はい、切りましたよ。
Back in episode 16, we heard this word.
電話、電話。
Let's learn it officially. A bit of trivia. Alexander Graham Bell invented the...
電話、
When I was a kid, there was only one
電話、
in the house. If we wanted to,
電話する、
we had to use the
電話、
that was in the kitchen. This is true. Here in Japan, I have a...
スマホ、
It's a...
Google Android、
That is a Google Android.
Google Android、
My wife also has one, but in case of emergencies, we also have a regular landline style
電話、
next to our...
テレビ、
So with the change in technology, we can refer to phones in a couple different ways depending on what type it is. But what hasn't changed is how we say to make a phone call, which we just heard.
電話する。
Mayumi mentioned wanting to invite a guy she met named Kotaro to have coffee. A couple days later, I followed up asking her,
小太郎に電話した？
how would we break that down?
小太郎に電話した？
Kotaro, a guy's name, ni, or is the target of the following action, to make a phone call.
電話する。
In this case, the past, so...
電話した？
Keep in mind, there isn't a missing o in there. The actual word is a combination of phone and do, a compound word, so to speak. Just for practice, if she answers with any of the following, yeah, I called on my smartphone, yeah, I called with my smartphone, or yeah, I called using my smartphone, how might that idea be expressed in Japanese?
うん、スマホで電話した。
Yeah, smartphone utilized, made a phone call. Simple enough once you hear the answer, but still kind of tricky too. Great job if you got that one. Okay, just listen. Polite Japanese. Did you call Maruyama-san?
丸山さんに電話しましたか？
はい、3時に電話しました。
Yes, at 3, called, where I and him are implied.
And now here's your tip of the day from Japanese Made Easy.
From a couple episodes back, I told the story of how I wanted to get a driver's license, so I took some driving lessons here in Japan just to get used to driving on the opposite side of the road. And that when asked to signal right or left, I instead flipped on the windshield wipers a bunch of times. Ultimately, though, I broke the habit and was ready to take the official test. There were two parts, a written test in English, then a driving test. The written test was for non-Japanese people who already had a license from another country. It was around 12 questions. 3 or so were about actual traffic laws. For example, how many meters before turning do you need to signal? The rest were just to determine if you were a danger to society or not. One question was, and I'm not kidding, circle the answer. It is okay to take drugs and drink alcohol before driving. Yes? No? I'll have to think about that one. But let's go with no. Question number 2. You stop at a stoplight at an intersection. An elderly person walks in front of your car, but you arrived first. You can continue even though the elderly person is in front of your car. Yes or no? Guys, I am not kidding. This is what the questions were like. Simply put, it was a sanity test. That's it. Then another alcohol question, something like, you've had 5 beers but you feel you drive better after drinking. It's okay to drive your vehicle, yes or no? Once I realized it wasn't a trick and this was the actual test, I quickly read through them and finished in just a few minutes. I got 9 out of 12 right. I missed all the questions that had to do with actual traffic rules, and got all the sanity questions right. A passing score. On to the driving test. It was on a closed government driving course with no other cars. As I was told to do in practice, I checked all around the car before getting in, got in and checked and adjusted the mirrors, and put my seatbelt on. As I was doing this, the guy was checking off boxes on his clipboard. Perfect so far. Then in Japanese he says, pull onto the road, then make a right at the corner. I signaled to turn right, no windshield wipers, and turned into the wrong and therefore oncoming lane of traffic. Automatic fail, and in just under 10 seconds. There were no other cars for reference, just 6 empty lanes to choose from. He then said in broken English, "This is not America." Then he said, let's just drive through the course for practice then. After that, he said to come back in 2 weeks and try again. Again, this is kind of long, so I'll wrap up the story in the next episode, but the tip: take 1 extra moment to process what someone says. Be certain you understand, and if you don't, then ask clarifying questions. I might have pointed and asked, that lane there, or I should go this way, yes? Sometimes a little clarifying can save a lot of trouble. Okay, I want to show you a cool trick for expanding your vocabulary. Earlier we worked with
電話、
and we're going to go over a few words fairly quickly here. Just listen and get the gist of the underlying concept. Don't worry about recalling them or not. Okay, next word that starts with den.
電車、電車、
Have you ever heard of a movie called Planes
電車、
and Automobiles? Either way, it's a funny movie. When I was a kid, for my birthday, I got an electric
電車、
set. It had a locomotive-style engine, about 10 cars, and a caboose. Here in Japan, there are local
電車、
that go through cities and from town to town, and high-speed
電車、
that travel across country. So what do
電話、
or telephone and
電車、
have in common? Of course, they both start with the sound den, but that isn't just a sound, it also has a meaning or general idea behind it. Let's see if we can figure it out by learning more related words. How about this word? Years ago, my portable CD player wasn't working. It wasn't broken, it was just that the
電池、
had died. So I went to the store and bought a pack of AA.
電池、
So batteries in Japanese are,
電池、電池、
from a meaning standpoint, what do telephones, modern trains, and batteries all have in common? How about this one? Every modern kitchen has a,
電子レンジ、
you can put food in it, set it to a minute or 2, and it will heat up the food really quickly. Never put metal or aluminum foil in a,
電子レンジ、
so hopefully you got microwave oven from that. In English, sometimes we hear range when talking about different types of ovens.
レンジ、電子レンジ、
So, what core underlying idea runs through all these words? Basically, the den part of these words is having to do with electricity or electric power. Den is not a standalone word. It's written with the kanji that has a core meaning of electric. Just understand that the sound den in these words has the core meaning of electric. There are tons of words in Japanese that are combinations of underlying ideas being put together, and we can use this to our advantage. So,
電話、
electric combined with the core idea of speak electric speak or electric talk equals a phone.
電車、
Electric and the core idea of vehicle, in this case, it means train. Then we heard
電池、
electric and pond. We can use our imagination and consider a battery to be a little pond of electricity in our pocket.
電子、
Electric and child means electron. The child of electron, a little electron.
電子レンジ、
The word electron with range, and we get microwave oven. Running through them one more time. Electric talk or telephone.
電話、
Electric vehicle or train.
電車、
Electric pond or battery.
電池、
Electric child, an electron.
電子、
Electron and range, a microwave oven.
電子レンジ、
Let's add another word that has nothing to do with electric, and then we'll tie it all together.
野球、野球、
A major sport we haven't learned yet. In the United States, football, basketball, and Major League
野球、
are the top 3 sports. Played with a bat and ball, originating in New York,
野球、
is popular in both the US and Japan. Ya has the general meaning of field, and kyu has the general meaning of ball, round, or sphere, giving us field ball. In English, baseball. So you know some words with den, the core idea of electric, in them, and you know a word with kyu, with the core idea of ball or sphere. So imagine it's night and you walk into a room and flip on the light switch. It's not as bright as usual. Your Japanese homestay dad says something about the
電球、
You didn't understand exactly, but you can make an educated guess based on the situation. Thinking about den, electric, and kyu, spherical. In this situation, what electric ball or sphere relating to lighting in a room are we probably talking about? Well, let's confirm by asking. You ask your homestay mom,
電話の電、
basically the den of the word denwa. She says,
そうよ、
野球の球、
the cue of yakyu.
そうよ、
You point to a light bulb in the room and say,
電球、
she says,
そうよ、電球だよ。
that's right, it's a light bulb. So that's how you can confirm the meaning of words if you think you recognize the parts. The more words you know, the more parts you have to work with. This does come up actually, often when trying to figure out what kanji to use, but it does work for sounds too. Here's some more interesting combinations.
地球、
Ground, land, soil, and ball or sphere gives us Earth.
地球、
Electric sphere,
電球、
light bulb, field sphere,
野球、
baseball, ground or dirt and sphere,
地球、
Earth. What I suggest is that when you learn a new word out in the wild or when studying, go to jisho.org, that's JISHO.org, and put in a word in English to get the readings and meanings that make up the word. You'll see some common need-to-know words, and you can then just make associations to remember them. You'll see all the ones we heard today. Electric talk or telephone,
電話、
electric pond or battery,
電池、
electric vehicle or train,
電車、
electric child or electron,
電子、
microwave oven.
電子レンジ、
Since baseball is
野球、
field and sphere, and Earth is ground and sphere, what's the word for light bulb?
電球、
Again, let's confirm by asking. Is that the den of densha? Densha no den desu ka? Yakyū no kyū desu ka?
そうですよ。
As always, for the shorter practice exercise version, go to JapaneseMadeEasy.com. If you're liking these episodes, it'd be awesome if you could mention to others if the subject of learning Japanese comes up. And I'll see you in the next episode.
This has been another episode of Japanese Made Easy. For additional practice audios and downloads, visit JapaneseMadeEasy.com.